The stench hits you first, thick and sweet and wrong, forcing its way through the herbs stuffed inside your beak-shaped mask. Your eyes water behind the round glass lenses. Somewhere beyond this narrow doorway, a woman is crying and a child somewhere further inside is coughing in short, ragged bursts. You knock twice, wait a beat, then push the door open with the tip of your long wooden cane. It's July in the year 1665, and you're about to see something you'll carry inside you for the rest of your life. Inside, a man lies on a straw mattress, his shirt pulled open, dark swellings rising at his neck and groin. His skin gleams with fever sweat. He doesn't look up when you enter, he can't. You're a physician in London, one of a small number of doctors, still willing to walk into houses like this, one day after day, while most of the city's wealthier physicians have already fled for the countryside. You wear the long waxed coat, the wide-brimmed hat, the mask shaped like a bird's beak, packed tightly with dried roses, cloves, and mint. It isn't costume, it's the medical science of your era. Foul-smelling air is believed to carry the sickness itself, so you fill the mask with sweet herbs to filter whatever the air might be carrying into your lungs. You kneel beside the bed anyway, cane resting against your knee, though you already suspect what your eyes are telling you. This is the plague, the same disease that swept through London a generation earlier, now returned with terrible speed, spreading fastest through the cramped, unwashed parishes near the river, where entire families sleep crowded into single rooms, and the summer heat has turned the narrow streets into something close to an oven. Right now, thousands of Londoners are dying every week. The weekly bills of mortality, the printed death counts nailed outside churches and sold on street corners, keep climbing past anything the city has ever recorded before. You've read them yourself, hands trembling slightly, aware that somewhere inside that long column of numbers is every patient you've treated and lost this month alone. Entire streets near you have gone quiet in a way that feels less like peace and more like absence. You're here because someone still needs to be. The stakes tonight are not abstract. Each house you enter could be the one that ends your own life along with the patient's. Other physicians have already died doing exactly what you're doing now. Kneeling over strangers, breathing air that everyone in this century believes is thick with poison. You carry no true cure, only remedies drawn from theory rather than evidence. You bleed the patient to try to balance what your training calls the four humors. You lance the swollen buboes hoping to release whatever corruption is trapped beneath the skin. You prescribe tonics of treacle and vinegar that do little beyond offering the dying some small temporary comfort. Somewhere underneath your training, you already suspect that most of what you do tonight won't save this man. You do it anyway, because walking away feels like abandoning him to die completely alone. And because someone has to try outside. A red cross has already been painted on this door, alongside the words "Lord have mercy upon us," marking the house as infected for anyone passing by. A watchman stands guard outside to make certain no one leaves. If this man has healthy children, they may be sealed inside with him for the next 40 days, a term borrowed from the Italian word quarantena, the origin of the word we still use today. It's a harsh policy, locking the well in with the sick, but the city believes it's the only way to slow something that already feels unstoppable. You lance one of the swellings as carefully as you can manage. The man groans, barely conscious now, his breathing shallow and uneven. You press a clean cloth against the wound and murmur something meant to sound reassuring, though you suspect your voice doesn't really reach him anymore. Somewhere in the back of your mind, a second, quieter fear surfaces. If this house has already claimed one life, it may claim more before the week is out, and you'll be back here again tomorrow doing the same small, uncertain things with your hands. Within a few hours, one of the city's searchers of the dead, usually older women paid to examine bodies and record an official cause of death, will likely be summoned to this very room. It's a job almost no one else wants, walking house to house among the dying and the dead, and yet without their careful grim records, historians centuries later wouldn't have the detailed death counts they still study today. You've noticed over these past weeks how quickly the city has reorganized itself around fear. Shops stand shuttered along streets that were crowded with merchants just months ago. The wealthy have carried off what belongings they could and gone to their country estates, leaving behind servants, the poor, and those like you whose work keeps them tied to the sick. The king's own court has relocated away from London, along with much of the government. What remains is a stripped-down version of the city, quieter in some places, chaotic in others, held together mostly by watchmen, gravediggers, clergy, and a small handful of physicians who never left. By nightfall, the man is gone. You've seen this same pattern often enough now to recognize its rhythm. The fever, the swelling, the delirium, then a stillness that always arrives faster than anyone expects. You step back out into the street and smoke from dozens of bonfires stings your eyes immediately, part of a desperate citywide effort to cleanse the air of whatever is thought to be spreading the disease. Church bells toll almost constantly now, one funeral bleeding directly into the next, and you stopped counting how many you hear in a single day sometime last week. What you don't know, what no one alive in 1665 can possibly know yet, is the real cause behind everything you've just witnessed. The disease isn't traveling through foul-smelling air at all, it's carried by a bacterium later named Yersinia pestis, transmitted mainly through fleas living on black rats, rodents that thrive in exactly the conditions filling London's poorer neighborhoods. Crowded housing, open grain stores, and garbage left sitting in the street. The herbs stuffed inside your mask, the bonfires meant to purify the air, the entire belief in poisoned miasma. All of it comes from a medical understanding, still centuries away from germ theory. And yet your instinct to shield your face from something invisible in the air wasn't entirely wrong. It was simply aimed at the wrong invisible threat, decades before anyone had a microscope powerful enough to find the real one. Some of what you're doing tonight will still matter to history, even if you never learn exactly why. The diarist Samuel Pepys, living through this very outbreak just a short walk from here, is quietly recording his own daily fears in private pages that future generations will study as one of the clearest first-hand accounts of the plague year. Physicians like you, whether remembered by name or lost entirely to time, will help shape how later doctors understand epidemic disease, quarantine, and the brutal math of trying to contain something that spreads faster than anyone can possibly treat it. By the time this outbreak finally recedes the following year, it will have killed close to 100,000 people in London alone, nearly a quarter of the entire city's population at the time. And within months of the plague loosening its grip, a second disaster, the Great Fire of 1666, will tear through much of that same city, reshaping London's streets, buildings, and future for good. You won't live to see germ theory proven. You won't ever hear the name Yersinia pestis, or fully understand why rats and fleas mattered more than smell ever did, but your instinct tonight, wrong in its details, yet urgent in its intention, will echo forward through every generation of doctors who come after you. Every hospital mask, every quarantine order, every impulse to separate the sick from the well traces some thread back to nights exactly like this one, back to doctors who kept showing up without any real proof that showing up would help tomorrow. You'll wake again before dawn, pull the beak-shaped mask back over your face, and walk into another house freshly marked with a red cross. Because somewhere out there tonight, someone else is already waiting for a doctor who's still willing to come.